Well, it's Friday. At least it is for you. For me, it's Wednesday. Because right now, as this video is being released to you guys, I am on my way to an island. Okay, to work, not to relax, unfortunately. That'll come though soon enough. And anyway, I guess it must be because I've lost my mojo on Wednesday as far as getting weird, because usually I get weird on Fridays and make these videos with you guys, and then and it turns out pretty slick. But it's Wednesday and I'm having a hard time getting weird, but I did try, and I did do some stuff here, and I'll show you what I did. It's maybe not as weird as it should have been or could be, but it's weird enough. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's start the show. Okay, so I went surfing around the samples inside my computer, and I found a didgeridoo, and it's pretty dope. It's, I think, let me see. It was in Earth Moments here. Okay, like if you downloaded the Bitwig samples and stuff like that, you'll have them too. But this is what it sounds like. Who wouldn't want that in their life, right? Isn't that just the most peaceful sounding instrument ever? Imagine that. Your roommate's a didgeridoo player professionally, and he's like up all night going like, oh my god, man. Anyway, so I chose that, and it is pretty neat. I'm not ditching the didgeridoo anytime soon. It's a pretty dope instrument. But the first thing I did was I took out one annoying frequency. Let's listen. It's like boop, 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 right? Boop, boop, boop. So I took that out, and then I put it into let's see, I guess the first thing is I put it into a bit 8 just to give it a little crunchiness to it, and a ladder filter. We all know about the ladder filter, how much I love that. Right, just a little crunchiness to that. And then I put it in a chain, and in the chain is the amp, because the amp is dope, and a blur device, because we just finished talking about the blur. And I also mentioned that I was going to do some weird shit with it. So I took a Vector, what is this, a Vector 4, and I basically just clicked these and messed up these 4. Click this guy, mess up those 4, and so on and so forth until I had this Vector 4. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was messing up. But see, now as I move this around, those dots kind of jitter differently around that graph, which is kind of what I was going for. And I did that by adding an LFO really fast, and I used that. If I click the mod button, you'll see that I modded these two things there. So now wherever I move this dot, those little jittery dots will go, okay? Not to give you a seizure or anything. And then I put a little filter on there, and I might even open it up a little bit. Let's hear. Right, yeah, and that's the whole thing altogether. I will say one thing, if I was being serious about this sample, look up the low frequency information here. Isn't it sweet? Right, that's usable. If you were to cut everything out but that low, that's a sweet sounding low. And that's natural. That's literally a dude blowing in a hollow cylinder. Okay, and then the hollow cylinder, it's just carved and it looks cool, but let's not make any mistake, it's a hollow cylinder. Okay, it's like as primitive as it gets as far as a musical instrument goes, and like to make that sound is so hard to do. I've tried to play one of these before, and you end up just wrecking your face in it. Well, I did. I mean, you might have better luck than me. Okay, so then I took this crazy Indian loop, and it used to be this long, and then I shrunk it down. Let's hear what that sounds like with nothing on it. Well, I'll play it the original by doing this. It's also not to the right tempo. right? But it's cool. And then I shrunk it up. It's like if you were to give a bongo player like crack or something. Okay, and then I threw on the amp device because the amp is dope. Lots of sag. So it's like a natural compression. And then I made a side chain, and of course I made my my dummy side chain up here, colored it gray because gray is lame and you can't hear it, and things you can't hear are lame. And so I made it an audio side chain to the dummy side chain there, and then I'm using it to mod the mix knob up, because if you notice, it kind of like the amp just kind of destroys the sound. So instead of doing like a classic side chain, I used the amp to destroy the sound, and I brought that in on every beat. Right? And then I wanted to retain the original sound of this drum kit, so I left that alone. And that's what it is altogether. Let's hear. You know what I need to do is add a tool. Like so. And add another side chain. Yeah, I don't know how useful any of this is to you. Like I said, I'm having a hard time getting weird right now, if I'm completely honest with you folks. But I didn't want to not give you something weird on a Friday to think about before you go start your weekend and have a good time, unless you work, in which case you won't have as much of a good time. But it's just some food for thought, I guess. First of all, you can remove frequencies with an EQ2. You can use a bit 8 to add some high-end information, some crunchiness up there, and you can use a ladder filter to filter it out, because it makes like an interesting kind of sound, right? Remember the ladder filter and the bit 8. In the chain here, let's see, the amp, right? And check out the Vector 4. Vector 4 is pretty cool, man. You can do a lot of stuff with that. And the blur tool, which we talked about recently, I just threw it on there, and nothing too crazy happening there. Okay, and then of course some more amp, and this time I used a ton of sag, so that the more I turn the mix up, the quieter it kind of gets, which is weird, but it gets more crunchy and distorty. It's just that it also gets quieter. And notice that I took off a bunch of these frequencies, so that way when I added an audio sidechain, I would sidechain it to turn the mix knob up, which means that it's removing a lot of high-end information and making it quieter and also more distorty-ish. Okay, and that's basically it. Yeah, I mean, well, you know what? We'll get a better one next Friday. I promise you that. It's just I'm cooked, man. I've been packing all day. There's a lot of tools. I've been setting up the guitar rig, and I've been working out the whole wireless thing, which is just a pain in the ass these days, because government is selling all these wireless bands, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and we got tube amps, like a Hughes and Kettner tube amp, which is really cool, but it's also like basically made of glass and really delicate. And so we've just been dealing with that, getting everything set up and in order. So I'm just cooked right now, and I want to go to bed. I can't. I gotta mow the lawn. Okay, so that's my lame excuse as to why this one wasn't as good as the last one, and won't be as good as the one that's coming, because the one that's coming, I promise to be at least 330% more dope. We'll say it's 2.1% more dope. No, 2.1 times more dope, because it's Bitwig in there. Okay, all right, take care. Enjoy your weekend. See you, kid.